12 minutes past 8, Miles Blumsom here, joined by Watford MP Dean Russell. If you have a question, 82818, start your text with the word vibe. Dean, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Thanks, Miles. It's really great to hear you. It's always a good end to the week, or start to the end of the week, to speak to you on this. Good. I mean, it's been a long week as always, but it's been an unusual one, especially knowing that Parliament's sitting and I'm contributing from home, which has been a bit odd.
Yeah, how's that been? Is it working smoothly? As smoothly as it can, do you think?
Yeah, it is actually, and I have to admit, I love being in Parliament, and I love being on the green benches, and I love doing what they call, which is bobbing, where you get to ask a question. I've been very fortunate to ask a couple of Prime Minister's questions and spoken in the Chamber a lot more than a lot of others, actually, it turned out. But so far it seems to be going smoothly. I think the screens seem to be working as a way to ask questions. I'm putting in to ask and contribute as much as I can virtually. But it is a bit odd, to be honest. It's a bit strange, but I think I'm just hoping it isn't a permanent change. I'm hoping that this, once we all get back to normal, which we all will, it's going to be, we will get through this. I'm hoping we don't then say that that's the way we'd like it to be, because I think there's a really big believer that the tradition of Parliament, 700 years worth of change and amends and tweaks to get it to what it is today, and I think it works very, very well.
Now, some of the big news this week is that essential workers should find testing easier, but there's also in Watford, at Watford General, there's going to be this drive-through test centre. Can you explain a little bit about how that's going to work?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment it's for, as I understand it, it's for staff at the hospital and family members if they've got symptoms. So what it means is that one of the challenges of coronavirus is partly, of course, or the majority is around the fact that people are catching it, but also in terms of staffing levels at the hospital, people are self-isolating because they've got family members at home or because they have symptoms, but it might be that they don't have coronavirus. So it's an opportunity for them to, set their minds at rest to make sure that we know who's got it and who hasn't from the staff. And I think, when you look at the broader picture around testing, what's happened and the announcements this week have been amazing in terms of mobile testing around the country, around these test kits. There's been partnerships, I believe, with eBay, and I think I heard something about Amazon, so I'll need to double check on that. But there's lots of ways now that tests are getting out there, which, it's been a steep curve to get to this point. If you think about it, again, only a couple of months ago, or 2-3 months ago, no one even knew what this was, and now we've got tests going around everywhere. So, but I'm particularly pleased about the one at the hospital. I know a lot of people have been calling for that, and I definitely pushed to make sure that we were one of the sites that had the mobile testing, so I was really pleased when that came off.
Now, we have been tagged in a tweet from Ted in regards to care homes. Last week you said that you were happy is not the right word, but you said that care homes were doing everything they could. We've seen that there's been, in one care home in particular, in Leavesden, 19 deaths. They said one is confirmed coronavirus, the other 18 can be attributed to it. Are you still happy with the work that's going on in care homes at the moment?
The word happy was never really the phrase. It's more a case that I've been pushing as hard as I can to make sure that care workers and care homes across Watford and wider are getting the PPE that they need. And I've been, as you can imagine, absolutely heartbroken at hearing that story of so many fatalities at that care home. And I've been following up very closely with the county council and with the relevant authorities to find out exactly what happened and what's happening next. And believe me, I've been asking a lot of questions regarding that. And it's awful, but the very sad thing with coronavirus is that it is quite an easy thing to catch, and so we've got to make sure that the staff in those homes are being looked after as well, that they've got the right PPE, that the organisations that are doing these looking after these patients in all the settings are as safe as they possibly can be. So happy is definitely not the word, but it's definitely a case that I've been pushing as hard as I can, and as I said last week, I really have been trying as hard as I can to make sure that everyone that needs PPE has been able to get it. And it's it is an uphill struggle, partly because PPE isn't something you just wear once. You don't just buy it and that's it. It has to be replenished. Every time you wear it, you have to throw it away. So it's a real challenge, but it's a really sad story. And believe me, I've been chasing in the background to find out as much as I possibly can and what actually happened there. Now,
some businesses have started to reopen. Health Secretary Matt Hancock said he's comfortable with this. I know that some building sites are going back, and the B&Q in Watford's reopened. I'm aware that some garden centre owners aren't very happy about that because they are still closed. What are your thoughts around businesses starting to reopen?
My take is that my preference on a personal level is that we take absolute precaution and have as much thinking behind decisions that are made on that. Construction workers in particular are an area that I've been particularly concerned about. One of my contacts has been lobbying me very, very hard, quite rightly so, to make sure that construction workers are as safe as possible. I think the challenge there, and I've been literally this week looking to reach out and identify anyone in Watford that is building and continuing to do construction work, so I can reach out to them and just say, look, we've got to make sure that the social distancing, that the PPE, that everything that those people need to be safe is in place. I think for any organisation, if they're thinking of reopening, is that if you can do it and it's absolutely 100% sure that you're going to be able to put the distancing in place to make sure that the staff are not put in any risk, then that's sort of fine. But I don't think it should be something that's taken lightly. And I also think you've got to make sure that you're looking after both your staff but also your customers. And so if you're going to do that, you've got to make sure that your customers can socially distance and that you're not encouraging people to come out in groups, whereas they wouldn't have otherwise. So I'm particularly bothered about construction workers because I think, health and safety is always seen to be something that's really critical on any sort of building site, naturally because of the dangers that are there from, falling debris and so on. But in this instance, I think it's particularly important that isn't seen as something, let's start building again, when actually there may not be a need to do it right away. So all I would say to any organisation that's thinking of that is please put your staff first and put your customers first before thinking or even getting to the decision about thinking around reopening.
It feels to me slightly like these business owners are taking the decision into their own hands. With the government at the moment, in terms of coming out of lockdown, and I know we're still a few weeks away from this, but Nicola Sturgeon up in Scotland has been given some clarity as to how it's going to be phased, and it might take some time, whereas we could see lockdown measures to the end of the year, but no actual information as to how some of the steps that might happen along the way. Would you like to see a bit more clarity from the government to build confidence, and do you think that might be a way that will stop some of these business owners just going, we're going to open up anyway?
I don't know whether that's necessarily the reason why they're doing it, because in reality at the moment, as it stands, is that we're in lockdown. So they shouldn't be going, look, we're looking at what may happen and then deciding what may happen should happen now. So that's definitely not the message that I would say I endorse. In terms of the timing and the decision around lockdown, the truth is, we've got to do this in the right way, and we've got to, I know the phrase has been used a lot, but follow the science, look at learnings from elsewhere. I totally get that people want to know when this is going to be over with. I totally get that. And, everyone that I know is in lockdown as well, and myself too. So I totally get that. However, I think if the government came out and said a date and said this is when we're going to end this, and then found that actually getting close to that there was another peak or another spike in activity or something else happened, which meant we couldn't deliver on that, I think that's going to cause a lot more concern and frustration and irritation in the public. So I absolutely back the fact that the government hasn't announced it yet. I'm sure they will as soon as we can say it in a way that we can deliver upon. It's
not necessarily a date. It's more just, and I'm not saying that I'm a supporter of Nicola Sturgeon or anything. I'm just saying that the way she said it's going to be phased, just some sort of information as to how it might happen.
No, I get that, and I'm sure that will come out in time, and I don't think it will be a huge amount of time before that, but we've got to do it in the right way. And I think, it's fair enough that announcement has been made, but the reality is across all four corners of the country, across everywhere, we need to have a consistent approach to that. And I think it's really important that we have a very clear view of what we're going to do, but also make sure we're doing it in the right way with evidence and have the right discussions around what will that look like. And so it's not the sort of thing that, of course, politically, it would be very easy to be populist and say, hey, you know what, this is what we're going to do, we're going to please everyone and make them feel happy. But if that doesn't then happen because we hadn't thought it through, then that's going to be a bigger problem. So I think my take is let's bear with it for a little while longer. The whole point of the lockdown is to save lives at the end of the day. So this isn't something that the government wants to be doing. It's definitely not anything I want to be doing. But the reality is we're doing it for the right reasons, which is to save lives. And if the general public, which I think they are on the whole, are sort of getting on with it and making the most of it as it stands, then hopefully, and I'm sure there'll be an announcement as soon as it can be, to say what that will look like and how it will play out. Now, something you are doing is volunteering, Dean, and you're actually parked up right now outside waiting for your shift to start in about 5 minutes' time. Can you talk us through some of the volunteering you're doing and how rewarding it's been for yourself as well? Well, I just think it's so important as whether you're a member of Parliament or a councillor or anyone who's in the community, that you don't just sort of lead with words, but actually with actions. And so for me, in my spare time, I have to clarify this as well, because I've had some people criticise me for volunteering, saying, well, why aren't you getting on with being an MP? Well, I assure you, I'm working every hour with friends to do all my job as an MP, and I think we're up to something like 1,500 cases that we've worked on as a team now, just on COVID. But in terms of volunteering, I've been out with the Salvation Army, One Vision, who do an amazing job locally, with a whole load of groups. And about 2 weeks ago, I think I shared on your show, I did the training to be a proper volunteer at Watford General Hospital. I'm just about to start my first shift. I've got my bright blue T-shirt on, my volunteer T-shirt, and I'm not expecting any special treatment. I'm going to be going in and doing the same job as all the other volunteers this morning. So it's a 3-hour shift. That's the shifts that they ask volunteers to do. So I'm just about to do my first one, and it's going to be basically, probably carrying bottles of water to nurses and doctors and, taking notes to people and other things, just to really just take a bit of the pressure off. And, I'm one of many, and in this particular instance, I'm not going in as the MP, I'm going in as myself to do what I can to help. Yeah, so if people see you, wave and say hello, but don't get in the way of your work. Yes, well, I think I just think it's really important at this time that we all pull together, and the best thing anyone can do is stay at home. I mean, that's absolutely the message to everyone. But if you can go out and volunteer, and it's safe for you to do so, health-wise, and it doesn't require you to put yourself at any risk, then I think it's really rewarding. And I've found with taking boxes of food to places, I've been taking food even to firefighters and to the police and NHS workers previously before some of the rules changed at the hospital in terms of deliveries. And it is really rewarding because you see the people who are doing these amazing jobs, and they genuinely are heroes. And I'm not just saying that as a politician, for platitudes. They really are heroes at the moment. They're the equivalent of the frontline forces in a war at the moment, and I think we're beginning to see signs that we're winning that war on an invisible enemy. And I think the more we can do to support them and also make sure people who are vulnerable within society are getting the support that they need, then I think that's got to be a good thing. And I have to say, from a personal level, it's been amazing to see how Watford in particular is really coming together. I mean, the community here is just off the scale. And I speak to other MPs, every MP loves their own constituency, of course, but I think, the platitudes I have for Watford go way off the scale of just, being proud of the town. It goes way beyond that. I mean, Watford Football Club, for example, the work that they've done to help support the hospital is just incredible. I've been there many times now, and every time I hear of a new initiative they're doing. So, Watford you should feel really proud of yourself, everyone who lives here, for what a community we've got here. It's absolutely phenomenal.
All right, Dean, now, as you're not getting special treatment, I'm going to have to let you go because you've got 2.5 minutes and I'm not going to let you be late. Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun volunteering.
Thank you. Take care.